Newspaper review, but we've been unable to reach our guest. Our staff actually trying to connect with him, so once we do, we will introduce him. But for now, let's go back to Daily Trust newspaper and to the lead story talking about APC primaries. Tinubu, Oshibajo, Amechi, others scramble for 7,800 delegates. And the writers that say odds favor ex-Lagos governor, running mate Asiwaju's obstacle. VP Minister bank on Buhari's expected endorsement and party to release timetable mode of primaries, on Wednesday. And we also have an infographic and a list of the delegates, like from all the 36 states of Nigeria. And talking about odds favor ex-Lagos governor, that's talking about Asiwaju Tinubu. But then running mate is an issue, for him. Who do you think he's going to choose as his running mate?
Well, definitely you'll have to find the right person that will give him the kind of balance that he needs to be able to pull people from different parts of the country and, of course, give him the edge that he desires. So it's a tactical decision. Choosing who you run with is as important as you declaring yourself.
Exactly.
Because it's not only your ticket. The person comes on a ticket, he has his own people, and then that's when you can be able to move forward.
So you're saying his running mate will either make or mar his electoral campaign?
For everybody.
What if he actually, gets a running mate that the Nigerian people don't even like?
Well, that's the problem. That's going to be a problem for his own campaign. So that's why there has to be wide-ranging consultations. Every candidate has to have wide-ranging consultations to be able to find out who is the best man that can support my ticket. Yes, you're at the top of the ticket, but that support structure is also very, very important. So it's a dicey situation. It's not just getting the ticket, but getting who to run with. That is also another thing.
Now, it's saying that the new electoral act may also alter configuration as a controversy over Section 84 subsection 12 of the newly amended election is gathering momentum. Now, the section states that no political appointee at any level shall be a voting delegate or be voted for at the convention or congress of any political party for the nomination of candidates for any election. Now, while many states have actually asked their appointees to resign, especially Kano, ministers, including Amechi and others who have indicated interest, are still contesting these elections.
Yes, well, the thing is, just like we said, the controversy is still raging on. A lot of people believe that's the way to go. Okay, if you're a political appointee and you want to run for elective office, you drop what you're doing so that you can go and focus on your elections. But other people feel that, okay, fine, you're trying to disenfranchise a certain group of people from doing what they're legally, or should I say, what's their right to do. So the controversy rages on. You're going to court, coming back, court orders, and all the back and forth. Well, it will resolve itself at the end of the day, I believe. But just like you said, some states have actually taken it upon themselves to make sure that all political appointees that are vying for elected positions actually resign before they can be able to start doing that. And we have seen some resignations as well in states like Kano, just like talking about. Yeah.
All right, now the Vice President and Minister are actually banking on Buhari's expected endorsement. We have so many people coming out, and Chris Ngige has actually, stated his interest as well, saying he'll be coming out tomorrow. And, according to, what they're saying, that aside the delegates across the regions, that the president's endorsement is very, very important, for them as well.
Definitely. You have a sitting president and he endorses you. There's a very high percentage that the goodwill that the president actually has can be able to rub off on you. You understand? So it's very, very important for any kind of election, for anybody who's running for the position of trying to be president. The incumbent president giving you an endorsement actually goes a long way for that to happen. And being his minister or member of his cabinet, well, at least you have an edge over other people that are really not, because you're working with him. You have access to him day in and day out. You can be able to get that, and it's assumed that since he was able to work with you, that means he trusts you.
Yeah, well, talking about the Vice President now, him coming out to say that he's going to continue what the President has actually started has actually put a lot of people on the edge.
Well, it all depends on when you look at it. If you believe that the President is not doing a good job, then him coming out to say that he's going to continue where the President left off, then that spells disaster for him. But for those who actually believe that the President is doing a good job, then that's a good one for him, and he can be able to ride that wave, I think, Yeah, but it depends on how you look at it.
Now, talking about ministers, still declaring presidency, China has actually said, come out to say that they're not backing, Amechi.
Yeah.
And they refuted the news allegations saying that the People's Republic of China, are backing Amechi. I just wonder, what has China actually got to do with this?
I mean, like, Rotimi Amechi is the Minister of Transport, and the
you
Ministry of Transportation has a
civil.
very good relationship with the Chinese government, having to do with the railways and whatnot. So I believe that is where that stems from, believing that, okay, fine, China has a lot of interest when it comes to Nigeria's transport system, and he's a transport minister, and they already have a good relationship. So if they support him, he becomes president, then China will actually have an edge over other countries when it comes to doing business in Nigeria.
Whether or not does, what China think actually matter when it comes to Nigerian democracy?
Well, it doesn't really matter, but you see, what they think doesn't matter, but what they do actually does, because they of course...
In transportation, right?
Yeah, what they do actually matters, and they can be able to support a candidate. I mean, like, the campaigns are all about money, and if they can actually be able to bring in those foreign funds and support, I mean, you have the backing of an entire nation to actually do that. So of course it will make a difference, and it will matter at the end of the day. But I don't expect China to come out and say, all right, we do support Amechi's presidential ambition, even if they do, So that is something that will unravel itself at the end of the day.
All right, now on page 6 of Daily Trust, we have a story that talks about kidnappers holding pregnant woman in labor and demand a ransom. And this is actually happening in Jalingo, Taraba State, where they refused to release a pregnant woman who fell into labor in captivity and demanded a ransom instead.
Yeah, I don't understand. We shouldn't be surprised. For somebody who is actually a terrorist to have a conscience. We don't expect that to happen. These are people that go out, they wreak havoc, they kill with reckless abandon, and even to kidnap the pregnant woman in the first place. So you don't expect somebody who has a conscience to actually kidnap a pregnant woman in the first place. Talk less of giving her any respite because she goes into labor or anything like that, because they don't think like that. These people are actually wired differently. They don't think the way we think. They don't have emotions the way we have emotions. So they don't care whether she's pregnant or not. So really, people should not be surprised that they have denied to release this woman based on the fact that she's pregnant. Because if they had that conscience in the first place, they would not kidnap her. Exactly. So that's the thing. So we just hope that she can be able to be rescued safely, or she can return home safely with her child.
Okay, now let's talk about, let's go back to politics. A lot of people have actually said PDP, APC, there seems to be no difference. And we have reports of Yari Marafa dumping APC for PDP.
Yeah, the same people that actually dumped the PDP for the APC during the last cycle of elections are now dumping the APC, and then when the next cycle comes, the same people actually dump that political party, maybe form another one, or go back to the same. And that is how it's been, and that is how it's going to continue to be, And unless there's something that can stop people from doing that, they're going to continue cross-carpeting from one place to another. So that's why a lot of people, a lot of Nigerians actually believe that both the ruling party and the opposition are one and the same thing, because the people that make up the ruling party are the same people that make up the opposition, and they can cross-carpet as quickly as anything. Once you feel you're not getting the desired what you feel you're owed, you move on to the other party, because maybe they're offering something better. At the end of the day, if that doesn't work out, you still come back to where you were before. So they keep going back and forth within the same political system, and it's the same people. So that's why we're saying, a lot of people are saying that there is no difference, because these are the same people, because the political party doesn't make up itself. People make up the political party. And if the same people are moving across, carpeting across the same political divide, then there's nothing different about it. Okay,
so that's why, a lot of Nigerians are actually clamoring for the third force. But then when you talk about the third force, there's some, forces where these people actually moved from the PDP and the APC
when you talk about
to create a third force.
When you talk about the third force, you talk about people that have not been there before, coming together and say, okay, fine, we've had enough of this, old guard. Let's do something that will be able to shake things up. Not the same people from the same two parties, you understand, coming together to say they're going to do it. It's all virtually the same thing. You understand? There's no third force.
So are you saying Nigeria needs a fresh face?
It's a given.
Because there are actually third forces with fresh faces out there.
It's a given. You understand? That is something that needs to be done. Because if we are actually an agreement that things are not the way they are supposed to be. And the same people that have been there for 30, 40, 50 years are still the same people that are there now. Why should we expect anything different from those particular set of people? So that's the argument that some Nigerians are actually putting forward. If we are going to bring a third force, then let it be something new, not the same old, you know?
And we also have so much rivalry between the APC and the PDP. And there's a story of Wike saying voting out APC will end banditry.
Well, that's just talk. That is political talk. You understand? The issue of insecurity actually predates the present administration. Yes, it's probably gotten worse, but still, it actually predates the present administration. So you just can't say immediately after elections, something magical will just happen and everything will return back to normal. It doesn't work like that. So that's just political talk.
Okay, right about now, we actually have our guest. We've been able to connect with him. Yes, our guest is a public affairs analyst, Bashir Baba, and he joins us via Skype for detailed review of today's front pages. Good morning and welcome to Daybreak.
Thank you very much. Good morning to everyone.
APC primaries, saying Tinubu, Oshibajo, Amechi, others scramble for 7,800 delegates, and odds actually favor Tinubu, but then a running mate is an obstacle for him. What's your take on this?
Well, I think in the first place, we shouldn't just conclude that the aspirants are just looking for a number of delegates or votes. Rather, because you can see there was a debacle, there was a problem during the passage of the electoral law. Whereas the National Assembly suggested direct primary kind of this thing. Mr. President returned the law several times to put. So in the end, while we analyze here, in the end, the ruling party may adopt a consensus approach to the whole thing. So I think we cannot just conclude that the APC is just looking for a number of votes or a number of delegates.
All right, so let's still stick with politics. We just talked a little bit about how there's a lot of cross-carpeting between APC and PDP, or ex-PDP going back to APC and vice versa. So a lot of Nigerians actually believe that is the reason why they think that both the opposition and the ruling party are one and the same thing. And even if the opposition wins the election, then it's not going to be anything different because it's the same set of people that were there before. So what is your take on that?
It's very true that the PDP and the APC are one and the same. History is replete with facts. It's people that people from the People's Democratic Party are joining others to form the APC. Of course, it is a coalition of some political interests, groups, and some breakaway factions of some political parties, the PDP inclusive. And if you say the APC and the PDP are the same, I think you are not too far away from right, because taking a look at the caliber, the people of that lead the ruling party now, the APC, they all have traces to the People's Democratic Party, PDP. So I think if you say the two parties are one and the same, and people should not expect any change, should the APC be voted out in favor of the PDP, you are perfectly right there also. That is what I think. And people, there is some commentators are saying, people normally form markets, not the stalls themselves. So if politicians from this party should decamp to this other party to build it up and win elections, you do not expect any changes. You can never find any difference. The right thing to do is for people to look at the caliber of contestants from across the parties and see where there is a concentration of the old folks and do away with them. I think that's about the only saving grace for this country, especially in 2023.
Share your thoughts on the governor of Kano State, Abdullahi Ganduje's directive, saying that in line with the clause 84 subsection 12 of the Electoral Act, saying that if commissioners, anybody that actually wants to contest for any position should resign. And we also have 8 Kano commissioners resigning. Can you share your thoughts on that?
I think this resignation order is a farce altogether. The whole world knows that our Attorney General now, Abubakar Malami, desperately wants to contest elections in his home state, Kebbi. But have you seen him resign from his position? The law says, although I'm not a lawyer, but it is crystal clear that any law that can be made and that law contravenes sections of the Constitution is null and void. So these people know exactly what they are doing. If as desperate as Abubakar Malemi is to contest elections in his home state, didn't resign or leave his position, his ministerial position, I don't think anyone should bother himself resigning. A section of the Constitution says 30 days to elections. So if there is any law in electoral law or from wherever, these people know. So in the end, it doesn't matter to them. In the end, the constitutional provision will prevail. The Abubakar Malemi, as I said, is the chief. So I do not see how someone like that would remain in office when he knows what the constitution and what the law says. That that is section 84 cannot see the light of the day. In the end, you will see it expunged, but through normal process. A court of law will declare it null and void because it is in conflict with sections of the Constitution.
So how does that section, does it bode well for the democratic process in Nigeria when you say, okay, whether the office holders will resign or not? How does it bode for the electoral process? All right, whether they stay in office or they resign before they contest elections?
I don't think there is any difference in that. Whether anybody holding office should resign now or not, the issue is if he wants to contest, he will contest. But the whole contention is the right thing and should be done properly. I think that is the whole bone of contention. And as I said earlier, Abubakar Malami is the chief lawyer in the country. He's the Attorney General. He's the Minister of Justice. If there is anything that can impede his effort to contest elections, he knows very well. He is fully aware that law that is made and is in conflict with the Constitution cannot see the light of the day. That is just it.
Let's talk about the fight the fight against insecurity and troops killing top 10 ISOP commanders and 100 others in Lake Chad.
Well, I'm not too sure the security agents have really achieved what they are saying. You know, in all war situations, you expect propaganda. And I'm not too sure. The military can always say they have killed this, they have achieved this, they have achieved that. But how are we sure? We are just seated back there and the military feeding us with all manners of stories. There's just no how we can know. And whatever the case, if they should kill 1 million commanders and Boko Haram and insecurity is still going on, I mean, the military must be talking rubbish in that case. It is not, we are not here seated down expecting to hear all manners of stories from the military. We want insecurity to come to an end, period.
Right, so if we move on to the next paper, talking about the Nation newspaper, the lead story there talks about, still talking about security, by the way, the presidency is saying that security architecture is under reformation. Meanwhile, if you remember recently, the former president, Olusegun Obasanjo, actually stated that this administration is overwhelmed with insecurity, and, Lai Mohammed coming out to say that, they're not overwhelmed. So who do we believe? And, is him, the presidency, saying that security architecture is under reformation? Is this the major reason why insecurity hasn't been brought to a halt?
You see, in the first place, what is it that brought about this insecurity, these security challenges? It is, I think, misgovernance. Bad governance is what brought about this insecurity in the first place. And the people in authority don't seem to be taking any measures to temper or to alter the system for the better. We have been saying it for a very long time, and you see these people in position of authority, they are not happy with people if they come out to say it, because they are benefiting from it. Now the whole of us are in it. The truth is, Nigeria is overwhelmed with security problems. If Lai Mohammed or anybody should come out to be denying security or security challenges, I think he is just deceiving himself. This thing is real, because the roads, for instance, have been killed a long time ago. People hardly travel at peace. The train that people manage now to at least save some situation from Abuja to Kaduna has been attacked. Kaduna, this bandits can attack Kaduna airport. I do not see anything that stops them from attacking all the other airports in this country. So people in authority should stop deluding themselves. They should stop deceiving themselves. What the right thing to do first and foremost is to correct the bad system that we have been operating, because if that system remains, let me give you an example. Each and every year over the times, whenever the national budget is to be presented, it takes a semblance of 75% recurrent expenditure, leaving a meager 25% for capital projects. 75% is meant for recurrent expenditure, is meant to cater for just worker salaries, emoluments, maybe a few logistics here and there. That's where 75% of the national resources goes to every year. And that's if you say people in authority just dip them into the exchequer to pick away 10% of it, you are not lying. That leaves the rest of the country with a meager 15%. Now, that 15%, the people in authority, the top people in position of power, are the ones that decide what kind of work is to be done for the country, at what cost. And it is being alleged that they give these contracts, or they give contracts for this work to their own companies. Now, anybody in government, anybody that is drawing salaries from the national corpus, right from the president at the national at the apex, at the federal, and the 36 state 36 that we have, and the 774 local governments that we have, anybody from the president down to the least paid cleaner, these people don't constitute up to 3% of the national population. So you are right if you say the whole budget of this country is being concentrated on just less than 3% of the national population. There is a problem. So these are the kind of things that there are people in authority should start to correct. 75% recurrent expenditure, 25% capital expenditure. It's supposed to be 25% for recurrent expenditure, 25% for capital projects. That is if people in authority, or if we are really serious, we want peace to reign in this country. I mean, there is more than enough resources in this country to go around, but it has been concentrated into just few hands. This is our problem.
Well, Bishop Kuka recently said that Nigeria is broken. and a lot of some people actually are of the opinion that is the case. Is it solely because of this insecurity issue that people actually are of this opinion that the nation is actually broken?
It is the biggest challenge that is facing us now. You see, the responsibility of any serious government is the protection of people's lives and properties. If that is absent now, there is a big problem. No other thing can the people and authority can achieve. This is just it. If people now in Nigeria, if you look at it critically, people in this country are not asking for any dividend of democracy from government. People are not asking for roads. People are not asking for pipeline water. People are not asking for hospitals or schools. And all these are developmental things. People are not asking for or looking for them with authorities. All the people are looking for now is government, please, without being attacked, without being molested, and things like that. This is the only thing. And that is not even forthcoming. So you can see really Nigeria, if anyone tells you that Nigeria is a failed state already, I think that person is not far away from right.
You know, a lot of our leaders going full blast on elections, and INEC actually saying that the security situation will not stop elections, 2023 elections from actually going on, but do you think if this security isn't handled, that there will be any elections at all?
There can never be any credible elections. They can make a jamboree of it and just declare results. Do you see, the sad thing is, people doing this are people that have gone to school. It is really surprising that people that have gone to school can continue to be deceiving themselves in the name of wanting to be in government. We have seen nations that have gone through various kinds of revolutions. We have seen this kind of things happen in places like Sudan. It happened in Iran. It happened in Burma, present-day Myanmar. It has happened in so many places. Anybody that think impunity will continue and people and the nation will continue to remain in peace is only not even. In fact, people in authority, when things get messed up, like in our own case, are the main targets. They need to know that. So please keep telling them.
All right, so one of the major things that actually contributes to insecurity is that we actually attribute to the contribution to insecurity is how our borders actually are, how porous they actually are. And there's a headline here on the Blueprint newspaper that says language barrier stops boundary demarcation. I mean, like, these boundary demarcations they demarcate where Nigeria begins and other countries, and where Nigeria ends and other countries begin when it comes to land borders and whatnot. Do you think things like this actually play a role in how we can be able to fight insecurity? Because if we don't even know where our boundaries are, how can we be able to secure them?
I think they do, but not to a very large extent. Bad governance is the main issue. If you talk about borders, our borders that are porous, yes, they are porous, but corruption has. You don't have to build marginal lines, so to say. You don't have to build protective walls across all of our borders. In fact, you cannot do that. There is no how you can do that. But modern technology can be deployed to secure our borders. But corruption is not allowing our authorities to commit the resources to deploy this kind of technologies that we have. Let me take you back to when, in this Abuja, a whopping $500 million was spent to fix CCTV. All those cameras that were fixed didn't work for. So if the people are not serious, if the people are not determined, if corruption should remain, there is just no how we can progress. So if anybody tells you our borders, the porous nature of our borders and whatnot is the cause of this, it is difficult for for this insecurity thing to be stopped, I think it's only being myopic. I don't look at it that way. But good governance is what we need. People should be serious. People should be patriotic. People should know that, especially people in authority, should know that amassing resources will not take them anywhere, and it will not help anyone.
Northern bishops have actually backed a Northern Elders Forum on the call for the president to resign. Do you think, the president should tender his resignation?
I think he should, because he has failed. He has clearly failed. Mr. President himself knows the kind of promises that he took for Nigerians during the elections. You see, it is not. I mean, it is crystal clear that the political history in this country, during the history of politics in this country, there has never been a sit-in president that recontested, that sought re-election and got defeated. But it started with Goodluck Ebele Jonathan of the PDP that time, and Buhari was the one that became victorious. It is because of the trust and belief that people had in him. But unfortunately, it appears President Buhari became worse than any other president that we have had in our entire history. So I think the Northern Elders Forum, the Northern Bishops, or anybody that says Buhari should resign, I think they are perfectly right. They are, especially in a democracy. We are in a democracy when Buhari himself knows he is a failure. How many promises did he fulfill from the time he started in government? Number one, he promised, for instance, let me just pick a few. He promised to, repair our refineries within the first 6 months in his office. Has he been able to fulfill that promise? He also promised to build new refineries every year throughout his tenure. That too is not forthcoming. The biggest problem that Nigerians are facing now, the insecurity thing, he kept telling people that within 6 months, the issue of insecurity will be history. How many? This kind of promises. How many of these promises did President Buhari fulfill? And we have such a very docile National Assembly that is meant to checkmate and make sure the right thing is done. I just say Nigerians are becoming so helpless. It is just unfortunate. It is very sad. So I think if anybody says President Buhari should resign, it's there in perfect order.
The economy. Let's look at the economy now. You attributed a lot of these things, the genesis of insecurity, to the policies that we actually have and the way things are actually being run, and of course how the general situation in the country is. Right now we have a report that Nigeria's inflation rate is at 15.92%, and food prices are through the roof, and gas prices as well. But some people actually argue that this economic situation is not a Nigerian thing, that is actually a global thing. Are you of that opinion?
No, it's true. It is a global thing. I agree. Then coupled with this COVID-19 palaver, it also contributed immensely. But in the case of Nigeria, what they are, if we had people and patriotic people in place, that is my take on the economy. But the truth is, it is a global thing, yes, and COVID-19 worsened the situation, but corruption has also played its role very negatively. Now, this coupling with it has to. I mean, the country is burdened with so much debt, never known in the country's economic history.
Okay, now the World Bank has actually come out to say that, increasing fuel subsidy, has actually put Nigeria's economy at high risk as well. I think we just, escaped the fuel scarcity not too long ago, but then the fuel subsidy, which is said to, which the government actually wants to remove and has extended for, months ahead. The World Bank is actually saying that it has put Nigeria's economy at high risk. I don't know. How bad can this get?
You see, in the first place, if our refineries were working properly, if they were functioning optimally, this is the first place. And that's why President Buhari has failed woefully in so many aspects. People thought, as someone that was governor, someone who was minister and minister of petroleum at that, someone who was head of state, should have an agenda for this country. I wonder what Buhari has been doing, or what his thinking was the time he was going around this country and making promises to the electorate. So if President Buhari had fulfilled his promise of repairing our refineries and building more, maybe the issue of subsidy and whatever World Bank or anyone will say wouldn't have arisen. But here we are. Tell me a single thing that has changed for the better in this country from the time President Buhari came in to this very moment. Absolutely, a worse dimension in almost every respect. Is it be it security, economy, and whatever, social well living, and all that. So the truth has to be told. You have to tell them the truth. Anybody that denies the truth is only deceiving himself. Is not helping himself and is not helping anybody either.
Quickly, before we wrap up this segment, can you share your thoughts on the NDLEA, making huge drug busts, in Port Harcourt, Abuja airports, and also Lagos airports?
I think the NDLEA has been trying of recent. That's why we say the right people should be. Buba Marwa is known. He is a performer. He has been a great performer. He served as governor in some states in this country, as a military governor. In the military itself, he dispenses all military assignments given to him with diligence. All this is known. And that's why we say square pegs should be placed in square holes. Round pegs should be placed in round holes. Not taking square pegs and putting them in round holes. It can never help us. So I think we have to say kudos to the NDLEA over its recent performance. None other than Buba Marwa. So we think we have to give honor where it is due. Thank you.